Our topic today is OKRs, using a methodology called radical execution. My special guest is Stephen Newman, co-founder of Krezzo. So Stephen, welcome to the podcast today. You and I have talked a couple of times in the past, and what you're doing is very interesting with your company because you work with OKRs, but you treat it more as a complete business operating system. You want to tell us a little about that?
Yeah, sure. So first, thank you, Tracy, for having me on. Excited to be here. It's great to catch up with you. That's a really awesome shirt you have there.
That's right.
But yeah, very excited to talk through, what we have going on and what we're working on. And yeah, you said it, like we're a company that really believes in the power of OKRs, but we're really evolving the approach to be something that's, more part of the operating system that really emphasizes radical execution and getting your teams bought in through the power of executing, exploring, experimenting, all those words that start with EX, but really simplifying the way sort of companies operate. We worked with a lot of operational leaders at growing tech companies, and we just see some of the problems that too many OKRs create. And we just see an opportunity in the market to tell a little bit of a different story. And that's what we're hoping to do here today, kind of have some fun while we're doing it.
Well, it's interesting. OKRs have been around for decades. Literally, a lot of companies use them, some successfully, some not so much. And as you said, a lot of times it can be almost too complicated. There's too many OKRs, or you bite off more than you can chew. People lose interest. They don't follow up. It just falls through the cracks. And what I'm hearing from you is you have a different way of approaching it, so that really doesn't happen. So what does this journey, this story look like from your perspective?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. This stuff's been around for 50 years, right? I mean, back before we had high-speed internet and smartphones, right? You're communicating through pen and paper and fax machines. And the methodology, it's a great methodology, it just makes sense, right? Where are you going and how are you going to measure success? That doesn't really change. But what's evolved is how we work, how we operate as businesses, how much data we have access to. So it's a great solution, but it's kind of in the wrong time. It's in the wrong period of time. And so we're looking to evolve this to be a little bit more palatable for your teams. And when companies started to really implement this stuff, it was kind of like the Oprah meme, everybody gets an OKR, and it really kind of has the negative effect and starts to dilute the focus and impact those superpowers that it's supposed to actually unlock. And so we've, really started to focus on drawing a line between business strategy and the objectives of the company, how the company measures success, sort of that top-down approach, but also looking at it from the bottoms up, right? Your people, your boots on the ground, the people that are talking to your customers every day, these are the people that know what's important and what's going to work for your business. And so taking that bottoms up approach and connecting it through the concept of radical execution and empowering your teams to go out and build some really cool stuff, launch more things and learn, that's where this stuff gets connected and where we believe the opportunity is.
So from a high level, I know the operating system has several components. OKRs obviously are kind of a core piece of that. You also talk about strategic initiatives. You talk about contextual data. Can you talk a little more about from that highest level? Then we can drill down into the OKR differences that are and how you approach it.
Yeah, I mean, when we started to talk about the methodology of radical execution here recently, and it's been very well received, and we're trying to still crystallize what that looks like. But essentially, keeping OKR simple with your leadership team to help define the direction of the business and what are the measurable outcomes. And it can't just be revenue. You gotta have a variety of metrics that people can find purpose in. But spending the time to craft really good objectives, really good measurable key results and outcomes so you can see progress over time. That's sort of the core, top of the pyramid part of an operating system. The middle layer is, all right, what's the actual execution? What are we working on? What are we building? These are the strategic initiatives. What are we creating, launching? Even if this stuff doesn't work, you're going to learn a lot. And ideally it does work. 80% of the results that you see in a company come from 20% of your people and your effort, right? So you got to fail a lot to actually achieve good outcomes. So that strategic initiatives piece is really the second part. And then the third part is the contextual engagement, right? Not just looking at charts and data and saying, okay, this is what we're tracking and this is how it's doing. But, what are we learning and why is that important to the business? Why does this matter to the guy or the people next to me? And sharing that contextual learning. What did you learn previously? What's going on today? What are you doing going forward, right? And just building a culture of knowledge and continuous improvement. Those three things sort of coming together is what creates a truly dynamic operating system. And that's what we're looking to bring to the market.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it's definitely a little bit different approach. I like the word evolving. OKRs are proven methodology, but it's a little stale if you go back to the way it originally was done with the new technologies and the different ways people work and companies operate today. So you're bringing the next generation of thought, it sounds like, into the OKR process. Now, you have some of the differentiators with OKR. You've talked about some of those. You also have a technology differentiator. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to your point though about the evolution, right? There's sort of SaaS fatigue, there's too many tools in the company, and then there's like dashboard fatigue, just there's too much data, too many charts. And we feel like there's just like OKR fatigue. Everybody's a guru. There's just, a lot of information out there. And so what we've done is we've tried to take a different approach to it, really simplify it to something that is digestible for an entire company. And then we've built our technology around that sort of concept of keeping it simple, keeping it very visual, but engaging enough to where you can get in, provide your updates, and you can get out and go about your business. And so we've integrated a lot of learning components into it. And it's still early, but we have a lot of customers using our operating system now and seeing a lot of value, and they're able to unlock a lot of inefficiencies that they didn't really know existed previously by having all teams rowing in the same direction. So really trying to focus on just keeping it simple, but engaging enough so that people actually want to come in and provide those updates.
Yeah, so you talk about we're going to keep it simple. We have less OKRs. The goals a lot of times in an OKR tend to be very diluted. And what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if you have one objective, right? You're kind of like a fighter jet, flying through the sky. Like you can just go super fast, right? You're very lightweight. As you add more objectives, you become like a helicopter, and then like a cargo airplane, and then you're just like a big parachute. But when you look at like the metrics, having a good combination of volume-based metrics, quality-based metrics, health-based metrics, that's going to paint a much better picture. But at the end of the day, less is more. So you can have more of these things, but you're going to dilute your focus. If there's less, then everybody understands the priority. Everybody can sort of rally behind that. And going back to the idea of radical execution, it's like, well, if there's only 3 or 4 metrics, then what I just choose to work on needs to align to one of those 3 or 4 metrics. And so it creates even more alignment. If you're spread very thin, it's going to be really hard to really start to move the needle.
Well, traditionally, too, OKRs have had results out that are kind of ambiguous. They're not always very detailed. And I believe you're talking about a little different approach to that, even how you measure results.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was having a conversation yesterday with an executive at a well-known company, and we were just talking about how challenging it is for people and teams to understand the difference between activities and outcomes. It's just really confusing for a lot of people, and that's another area where we've really tried to crystallize within our product is there's a distinct difference between the work that you do and the results that it generates. And so that's really the difference between a key result and a strategic initiative. And I like to make the comparison of like a sports analogy, right? Like if I play golf, the outcome is my score, right? Unless you're cheating. But the initiatives is the work that I put into it ahead of time. How many times did I go to the range? How many golf balls did I hit? right? That difference is what can help to get people in the mindset of continuous execution, learning, improving, getting better. Anybody can write a goal. That's easy. But actually working and figuring out the steps and the things that are going to achieve that goal, much more difficult. And that's the area where we try to focus on.
Yeah, the most important term in golf is mulligan.
Yeah, and foot wedge.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Some
No,
of
actually,
those
it's four.
OKRs, yeah, something I've seen is, OKRs are defined and they don't seem to have a lot of room for experimentation or allowing people to vary much. How's your approach different?
Well, it's interesting because the original like genesis back 50, 60 years ago with OKRs is like, all right, look, here's the objective, here's the 4 or 5 results, everybody print it out and pin it to your cubicle, right? And then you can ideally go off and experiment and explore and figure out, all right, what's actually going to work. And so like that sort of that cultural sense of empowerment is a good thing. But now that we have all this technology and data that we can track every little thing, people want to know where their money's going and where their time's going, but they don't want to be big brother. So when we talk about radical execution, it's not just, hey, let's go build a bunch of stuff and burn ourselves out. It's finding a nice, healthy blend of exploration, experimentation, and execution. And that really comes down to your level of confidence. If you're really unsure if something's going to work, just go do some research, talk to some people, do a survey. That's good execution on the exploration side. If you have a sense of like, hey, we're doing things one way and maybe a different way would work, experimentation, like figuring out, all right, what's actually going to validate or disprove my hypothesis. But if you have a high degree of confidence in what you need to build to serve your customers, and that's where the actual execution comes into play, because you can say, look, I know after doing all my homework, this is what customers need, this is what my people need, and we need to go off and build it. And taking on those bigger things every quarter is what's going to cause or give you that sense of continuous improvement within your business ops.
So that's very interesting. And another thing I think from OKRs is there tends to be a mindset that we're going to manage and we're going to track these OKRs. It doesn't seem to leave, it doesn't have a lot of focus anyway on like building things or learning new things. How does that differ in your view?
Yeah, I mean, it should be a point of celebration. This shouldn't feel like homework. It should be a point of celebration when you're giving your updates, because failing is a good thing. Trying something, failing, sharing those learnings, figuring out what didn't work just means that that's another step into figuring out what will work. And that goes to that contextual engagement, sharing the learnings that can benefit others. Like that's really what it comes down to. Getting into a good operational cadence and rhythm of sharing those learnings, sharing the updates, looking at the initiatives, what's the progress, what's going on, what are the blockers, what are the risks, what do we need, right? But still having that sort of North Star of your OKRs to keep you on the rails. That's important. And that comes down to your leadership team setting the right, results to the company, for the company. But yeah, being able to share that stuff and have it feel like a point of celebration is really critical.
Very good.
Yeah.
And so where are you going with this now? Because you've made a great change in how the methodology works. You've got some great improvements, some evolution, as you described it. Where's the future lie, you think, with this? Is this something that companies that are already executing on OKRs might look at this methodology and change their approach, or is this strictly for new companies?
No, I think everybody can benefit. Everybody can benefit, whether you've been doing this for a long time, you can just continually optimize your existing program. Or if you're looking at this for the first time, it's a great way to avoid a lot of the pitfalls by keeping it simple and then putting the power of execution, radical execution, in the hands of your teams. We look at this as just it's a natural evolution. There's a lot of big, hairy problems that exist within operations, a lot of inefficiencies, a lot of misalignment. These things have been around for decades. It's not a problem that's ever going to be completely solved, but we think that, by having a better strategy and also better tactics, it can lead to better outcomes. And we're excited. We've started to go to market with this message around radical execution, and we've seen a lot of positive feedback. And I think, for people and teams, which is the heartbeat of your company, right? Like getting them bought into something that they can control, that's what's going to make the difference. It's really, really disheartening when you get handed a goal and there's not really anything you can do about it. But it's a much better feeling when you're given the opportunity to say, what do you think we should do, and being able to go out and do it. So we're excited to deliver that message.
That's great. That sounds like really great futuristic kind of view here of changing things and moving to the next level.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and I'd say it's funny though, there's like these, big sort of theoretical strategic problems, but I was talking about the tactical stuff that there's still pain points within operations of corralling updates across teams, right? The system, having a system to operate against can simplify that process and make it less painful. And that's another direction that we're heading towards, is to help out the operational leader. They're constantly tracking stats and herding cats, just helping them out, right? And so, giving them the tools they need to be more effective and more efficient.
So who is a target, if you will, for this kind of methodology? Because is this a 5 employee or a 50,000 employee kind of target? Who's going to benefit from it?
I mean, from startups on up, right? When you're a startup, you don't have a lot of data to work with, so you're executing as fast as you can to learn as much as you can, and then pivot if you need to. And then as you get bigger, you get more data, and then there's sort of a correlation between size, data, and your ability to execute and be sort of agile. All companies can benefit from it. We have one customer we're working with is 600-700 people. I mean, they got one objective and 3 key results. That company is hyper aligned. Everybody is just working, executing, learning, super, super efficient. So yeah, we just see a great opportunity here, and we're working with a lot of different types of companies. We use it ourselves. We've been kind of our own case study of being able to really execute and get things done and get things built very quickly and efficiently. But there's a lot of big companies out there that need help as well. Even just an outsider's perspective to sort of poke you between the eyes sometimes and re-clarify what reality really is. So we have a diverse set of customers that we have, but a lot of just operational leaders that just need assistance, need the right tooling, the right plans to communicate more effectively internally to their team so that they can execute and hit their goals.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do people get in touch with you?
Krezzo.com, Krezzo. You can go to our website, email me at Stephen, spelled the right way, Stephen @Krezzo.com. We have our tool is available for trial right now. But yeah, we're getting started, and appreciate you having me on here.
Always great to talk to you. And it's been very interesting as somebody who's, followed the company now for a while, and to watch the progression. And it's great to see you bringing in these new, fresh ideas too. It's not just another OKR tool. You have an entirely different mindset now. And it's more of a complete operating system. So it's really great to see that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate that. And, thank you for supporting us along the way. You've been connected with myself for a while in the early days, and big champion for us, and wearing the swag, which is cool to see. And yeah, very, very thankful for your time, and appreciate, you having us on.
All right. Well, thanks for your time this morning. It's been very interesting. Looking forward to what's coming next from the company, and looking for you guys to really take off and be very successful.
Hey, sounds good to me. Let's hope that's what goes down. I just got to go off and start to radically execute.
There you go.
Awesome.